Hi there, this is going to be a quick video showing you how to develop and deploy functions to DigitalOcean. So functions are serverless functions. It's a new feature of DigitalOcean. Allows you to write a small bit of code and deploy it as a HTTP endpoint. You can write them in a few different languages like Go, PHP, Python, and Node.js. This video is going to be focusing on how to do it in Node.js. The main benefit of functions is you don't need any servers. You can just deploy the function and it only spins up a server when your function's invoked, which results in lower cost if you've got very low volume. So this is going to be a coding tutorial of how to do it. I've got an empty project here. So I'll start by creating a package.json. And in here, I'll give it name demo and type. I'm going to set to module, and that enables ES modules, which isn't required, but I recommend doing it for modern Node.js development. And then I'll add a scripts block as well. Now, you can deploy Node.js functions to DigitalOcean using no external libraries. You can do it just all in pure JavaScript, but it's quite a lot of boilerplate that repeats itself, like returning HTTP headers for content type being application JSON and status codes and that sort of thing. So to reduce boilerplate, I've created this little npm library called do-functions, and makes it a bit easier to do development. So it is optional, but makes it a bit easier. So I'm going to install it here with pnpm install do-functions. You can use npm. I'm using pnpm just because it's a bit faster. So I'll add that to the project. And there's another one, do-functions-server, and that gives you a local development test server to run your functions before deploying them. So we can see in our package.json it's added two dependencies. And now I'm going to make a tsconfig file because I'll be writing my functions in TypeScript. And again, this is optional, but is recommended if you want static type checking at build time. So firstly, I've got module ES2022, just for ES modules, target, because I'm targeting Node.js 18. Source map makes it a bit easier for debugging. Module resolution, I'm going to set that to Node 16, which is a newer module resolution algorithm. It allows you to do more modern imports. Strict null checks is good practice, and import not used as values. And that gets set to error, and that's quite good to reduce the size of your functions as deployed to DigitalOcean. Makes the outputs a bit smaller. Then I've got exclude and include. I'm not sure if that's necessary, but I like to have it anyways, just so you don't build anything in Node modules and you only build TypeScript files. Now I'm going to create the first function, just a new TypeScript file. The structure it expects you to have is here in the documentation for the package, and you should have a directory called packages, and then for each package you have a new directory with the name of the package, and then for each function you have a new directory with the name of the function, and then an index file in the function directory. So I'm going to go ahead and make a packages directory. I'm going to call my package sample and make a function called hello. And so in there I'll create index.ts. Now to begin with, I'm going to write the business logic function. So this can just be an async function. It can be called anything. I'm going to call it logic. And in here, we'll just return hello world. Now, DigitalOcean expects you to export a function called main. So I'm going to go ahead and export const main. And we're going to set that to wrap function logic. Now this wrap function comes from the do-functions package. So I'm going to add the import wrap function from do-functions. So we're exporting a function called main, which is wrap function of your logic. And your logic can take parameters, which is args, and that comes from the search query of the URL in a GET request. And whatever you return here, as long as it can be serialized to JSON, will be included in the response. So I've just got a plain string here, but it could be an object or a Boolean or anything like that. Now I'm going to go back to the package.json and add a build script. So let's do build, and do functions provides a CLI, and it's by the same name as the package, do functions. And the first argument it takes is where your source code is. So I'm going to give it the packages directory /packages. And the second argument is where you want your build output to be. I'm just going to make a directory called build. So let's try run that. And you can see it's found our function sample hello, and it's built it. And you can see up here it's created a build directory with our build output. So now we've built that function, let's try test it. So we can add another script to our package.json called serve, functions serve server, and that takes one argument, which is where your build output is. So I'll again just pass build because that's where I've elected to put the output. So let's try run that. So you can see it's found our function sample hello, and it's serving it on port 62,747. We can copy that, and in a terminal, we can curl it. I'm going to pass the I flag to curl, so it'll show us the headers. And if we run that, it says URLs in the wrong format, try package name, function name, and that's because I just curled the root URL. So if we add sample/hello to invoke that specific function, we curl it, we see we get our response hello world, and it's got content type JSON and 200 response code. So that's an end-to-end demonstration of just a very basic function. Now we can try add something a little bit more complex here. Maybe we want to return the current date. So we say new date to ISO string. And maybe instead of just returning a string here, we return an object. So we can say include current date, and we can add a message that says hello world. So let's try that. If we go back to our package.json and run the build script again and restart the server, and then if we go in our terminal to curl that endpoint again, what do we get? It's got a JSON encoded object with the current date and a message. And if we curl it again, you see the date has updated a few seconds. So that's the basic usage of it. Now the point in adding this Node 16 module resolution allows you to import, instead of from the base package, from schemaless. And putting schemaless in there just indicates you're not using JSON schema validation in your function. So it allows it to exclude any JSON schema validation code from your build output. If we rerun build now, and then we open up the build output, this hello.js file, you can see it's minified JavaScript to make it smaller for deployment. If we just reformat that so we can have a look at it. So now it's just pretty printed, that build output. You can see it's pretty lightweight. There's some generic code that deals with ES modules and CommonJS conversion. And here's our logic that returns the current date. So you can see it's done a little optimization there. Instead of declaring a variable and then using it in the object, it's just declared the value right in the object creation. And it's wrapping it with some functions boilerplate code, such as setting the headers to content type JSON and setting status code. And you can see here there's something that returns a 500 status code. And when that is invoked is if you throw an error in your logic. So this could be anything like if you couldn't connect to a database, or if some other top level error occurred that you don't manually catch. Let's just do cannot connect to database. So obviously in your code that would be a real error rather than just throwing it intentionally. So if we build that now and we restart the server and we send a curl request, you can see it returns a JSON object with message property cannot connect to database, and that's the error that we threw. And it's got a 500 status code and it's still got content type JSON. So that would not be the case if we weren't using this do functions library. That do functions library ensures that it always returns a JSON object with JSON headers and a status code that matches. So there's a simple example of how to deploy a function to DigitalOcean. Hope you found it useful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll try and get back to you. If you have any problems using this library, DO functions, just open up an issue on the GitHub repository and I'll help you out with a fix. Here's the NPM page for it. So hope you're successful. Goodbye.